What is going on, guys? It's your boy Jay here with Galactic Grizzly, bringing you a brand new episode of What Happened To. I originally tried recording this yesterday, tried recording it outside at around like 5 o'clock. It was super bright out, the sun was in my face the entire time, there was a ton of people outside, it was loud, and the whole time the lens had like it turns out there was a hair that was stuck on the sensor, and it just looked terrible. It was just bad, so I'm just remaking this today inside where it's quiet and safe and quiet. Hear any kind of jingling or stuff in the background, Cleef's over there playing with his toys. Anyway, this week we're talking about the most famous NBA Sixth Man of the Year, none other than Lamar Odom. He played on several different NBA teams back in the day, most notably the Lakers, where he played alongside Kobe, won back-to-back championships, and then after those championships, his career started to kind of fizzle out, and then we started hearing all this crazy stuff about him. So, what happened to Lamar Odom? Lamar Odom was born on November 6, 1979 in Queens, New York. He says his father was a heroin addict, and on top of that, his mother died of colon cancer when he was only 12 years old. After his mom passed away, he was raised by his grandmother, and things started to take a turn for the better when his basketball talent really began to take off. He was slowly but surely becoming one of the best players in the country, even though his high school career was a bit bumpy. He spent the first 3 years attending a school in Queens, but in his senior year, he transferred to a school in Troy, New York, and to a school in Connecticut. He finished out his senior year of basketball strong, earning USA Today's All-USA First Team. Lamar Odom actually played alongside a few of his future NBA teammates while still in high school. He played alongside Kobe in an Adidas camp, as well as Ron Artest, or Metta World Peace, on his AAU team. After considering going directly to the NBA, he decided to go to college before declaring for the NBA draft. Remember when players actually had that decision? You guys are just gonna have to hear Cleef in the background. He's got a lot to say this morning. Odom was planning on attending UNLV, but after being arrested, as well as Sports Illustrated publishing a story that questioned the legitimacy of his ACT scores, that led to a massive speed bump in his collegiate career. He also ended up taking a large sum of money from UNLV's boosters, which, in case you're not familiar with NCAA rules, you can't do that. All of this resulted in UNLV taking away Lamar Odom's scholarship, UNLV firing their head coach, and the school was placed on probation for 4 years. Lamar Odom made quite the entrance. Anyway, after all that mess, Lamar Odom ended up staying local and attended the University of Rhode Island. He had to sit out his first season, but during the 98 through 99 season, he averaged 17.5 points and led his team to a conference championship. He took advantage of his second chance to play and balled out in his only full collegiate season. By the end of the season, he had hesitantly declared for the 1999 NBA draft, and the Los Angeles Clippers ended up drafting him with the 4th overall pick. You see, part of the reason that Lamar Odom's story is so crazy is because of how far of a fall he took when things started to get messy further down the road. But other pro athletes have had dramatic rises and falls in their lives. But you see, Lamar Odom was so surprising because of how good of a player he was. Most non-sports fans only know Lamar Odom's fame because of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but that same group of people don't realize just how good of a basketball player he actually was. So, let me tell you. Lamar Odom was a big man with great handles and was even better at finishing. Because of his size combined with his handling, he could play in the front or backcourt. He was the epitome of a point forward, a Swiss Army knife. In Lamar Odom's first NBA game, he put up 30 points and 12 rebounds. He went on to average 16.6 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 4.2 assists per game throughout his rookie year. In his second year, he started in 74 games and increased his scoring average to 17.2 points per game. Lamar Odom had arrived. In his third NBA season, Lamar Odom only played in 29 games. Why did he play in so few games, you ask? He was suspended for violating the NBA's drug policy, so that costed him quite a few games, and his play just wasn't as good as it was the previous year. The next season, he played in 49 games, and by the end of the year, he became a free agent and signed with the Miami Heat. Odom was only in Miami for 1 year, but it was one of the biggest years in Heat history. You see, 2003 was the year LeBron was drafted, as well as Carmelo, Chris Bosh, and of course, Dwayne Wade. The Heat were terrible the previous season, but now with the addition of Wade, Odom, and Caron Butler, they improved to a playoff team. Lamar Odom was back to averaging 17 points a game and was one of the key players in Miami's newly found success. They made the playoffs that year, won the first round, and then got bounced by the Pacers in the second round. Once the season ended, Miami had the opportunity to get Shaquille O'Neal, so they made a package deal that included Caron Butler, Brian Grant, and of course, Lamar Odom. Shaq was going to South Beach, and Lamar Odom was going back to LA, except this time in the purple and gold. The beginning of Odom's Laker career was up and down. He had a few injuries that kept him from playing a lot of games, but when he did play, he most definitely had his moments. Sadly, in 2006, his youngest son Jaden passed away from a sudden infant death syndrome at just 6.5 months old. As a father of this 2-month-old sitting right here, I could only imagine what that was like to go through. Odom explained that the pain of the loss was one of the many things that led to him turning to drugs. He was looking for anything to numb his pain. As you can imagine, his play began to suffer and his stats continued to decrease year after year, and eventually he was benched by the start of the 2008-2009 season. That would be enough to fizzle out most NBA players' careers, but Lamar Odom fully embraced his bench role. Odom's play as a role player coming off the bench was some of the best of his NBA career. He was by far one of the best six men in the league, and his play helped Kobe have one of the greatest seasons of his career. And mainly because of Kobe's ridiculous play that year, the Lakers made a deep playoff run and went all the way to the finals where they'd meet the Orlando Magic. Unfortunately for the Magic, it wasn't even close. LA swept the Magic in 4 games. Kobe played out of his mind the entire series. And Lamar Odom had a huge game 2 where he put up 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. And after all the ups and downs, the triumphs, the heartbreaks, being traded, Lamar Odom was a champion. Lakers found him to be so much of a valuable asset to the team, they re-signed him to a 4-year, $33 million contract. That deal immediately paid off because Lamar Odom once again played a crucial role in a second consecutive championship against my Celtics. The following year, he won the 6th Man of the Year award, and Kobe called it his most consistent season. Skipping ahead a bit, Odom and Kobe were pretty tight. They played together for 7 years, so as you can imagine, they had a pretty good relationship together. And I still remember some of the moments that Lamar Odom and Kobe had on the court together. They weren't like a Shaq and Kobe duo, but I mean, they were pretty special. With Lamar Odom just continuing to feed Kobe, and Kobe just completely taking over games, and then Kobe feeding it back to Lamar on certain plays. They clearly had a really tight, different duo. When Kobe died earlier this year, Lamar Odom said that the loss was only comparable to when he lost his son. During the 2011 to 2012 season, Lamar requested a trade and ended up on the Dallas Mavericks. He did not fit there and ended up returning to the Clippers the following season. He continued to bounce around to different teams throughout the next few years until his basketball career fizzled out in 2014. Now, a couple keynotes off the court in that same window of time. In 2009, Lamar Odom married Khloe Kardashian. After a month of dating, fellas, get it together. From the start, their marriage was a big piece of keeping up with the Kardashians and led to the couple getting their own show, Khloe and Lamar. Now, this was a real bummer, a real punch to the gut, but the show was actually canceled after just 2 seasons. In 2013, he was arrested for a DUI, and around the same time, it was when we started hearing about his drug abuse. A lot of what Lamar had kept in the dark was starting to come to light. In December, Khloe had filed for a divorce, but it took almost 2 years for the finalization to be put in front of a judge. Right after the divorce was dismissed by a judge, Lamar Odom was found unconscious at a brothel in Nevada. He had suffered several heart attacks and strokes due to his drug abuse, and it was a complete miracle that he lived. Today, Lamar Odom is doing much better. He took his time to recover from his drug addiction and has been very open about the struggles in his past. 2016, he and Khloe Kardashian officially divorced, and since then, Lamar Odom has just been living life. Recently, I believe he has his own media production company. I really don't know what he's doing specifically, but I will say that in the past year or so, he's done a whole media tour. He's been on a bunch of different shows, podcasts, interviews, talking about his past, the highs and the lows, and just completely opening up about everything. I'd highly recommend you check any of them out. Just last month, he was on a damn near 3-hour-long podcast episode of Drink Champs, where he talks about just about everything, so that's the one I'd point you to out of all of them. So what do you think about Lamar Odom? If you're a Laker fan, I would imagine that you will always have a sweet spot for him, but regardless, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about Lamar Odom. And while you're down there, you can leave a request for who you'd like to see featured in the next episode of What Happened To. That's gonna do it for this episode though. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and hit the subscribe button so that you can see next week's episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Odom was planning on attending UNLV, but after being arrested as well as Sports Illustrated. Oh. Lot to say.